Today's presentation I will be talking about the green building and sustainable buildings in India. I'm talking from a very holistic perspective, not only what buildings we have made, but how we should address this phenomena in our country. So I'll be talking about the energy scenario, the potential role of building, why buildings are so important in sustainable development of the nation as well as the world, and policy and the institutional framework in India. And the major issue is new building versus existing building, because there is a vast stock of existing building. New buildings, okay, we can build as per the standards, but what do we do with the existing stock of the building? So this is a issue which is to be addressed not only at our nation's level, but globally. Then I come back to how built environment can be used as an intentional teaching tool for addressing the sustainability and energy efficient issue. And this is in respect of the project, CREED PS project, that is Climate Responsive Energy Efficient Design Product Solution. This was a project which we had taken up under Germany India year 2011-12, and this was a collaboration between an Indian university and a German university. So we'll be seeing that how Indian and European approach gives solutions to the same problem and what kind of design interventions they brought. And then we are talking about the future directions we should take from here. So if we look at the world's primary energy consumption scenario, in the last 3 decades, the energy consumption has increased twice. That is from 5 gigaton of equivalent of oil to 11.2. So this has been very phenomenal. And in this, if we see the primary contributors in this high energy consumption was Asia. And the future projection, if we see, the demand for energy in Asia will be surplus, and it will over and above the whatever the developed nations have got. So this, if we look at the breakup of the energy consumption in future, then we find that the 3 major sectors, that is transport, residential, commercial, and industry, we find the component of residential and commercial, that is of building, is increasing. It is enhancing because we are having more population and it requires more accommodation. There is more industry, more development, economic development, so we require more commercial building. So you find that the increase in demand of energy is towards now in building. And these are some of the studies which also projects that how the floor space will increase in billion square in India. This was a study by Global McKinsey Institute. And then how the vehicle demand will increase. And Professor Sitaram has already talked that in India we have a very high demand for 2-wheelers as compared to the 4-wheeler vehicles. And then power demand, and what kind of demand for the material. If you see the cement demand, it's going to be very phenomenal in the next up to 2030. And if we look at the CO2 emissions per capita, these figures are somewhere that in India the figures are much below the red line, which is the threshold line which has been drawn sustainability point of view, the capita average. If we look India, then it is lower than that, but that does not give us, it's not so alarming compared to what United States and Canada. But this is not the true picture. The true picture is that this contribution is by the people who are having an income of 30,000 plus above. So this contribution towards CO2 emission is not by the people who are having their income less than 30,000 rupees per annum. So this is the major contributors are the people at the high end of the economy. And that's why the title of this article was Hiding Behind the Poor. So if we look at per capita this thing, then our consumption is very, very less. And the mitigation for CO2 emission, the measures we can take, that is greenhouse gas emissions, the various measures, that is towards in the power sector, in the industry, in the habitats and all, transport and all, is going to be of this order, what is shown in this graph, but there is going to be a major abatement by other measures, which may include the urban planning, which Professor Sitaram addressed in his talk. That is, we have to build the cities, new cities, many new cities. We have, after independence, we have only built 4 cities in India. So we have to look at a very sustainable urban planning, build new cities. And then the distribution between the generation, that is the electrical generation and all, we should have renewable energy sources and all. And the major contributor, if we look at this abatement case, out of 5,740, 3,140 could be attributed towards other measures. And in this, one of the important part is the behavioral changes, because unless the user changes their behavior, we are not going to address the energy or the environment or sustainability issues, because they are the prime consumer of the energy, and their behavior pattern, however we use the technology, however planning we use it, but unless the users are educated and they are addressing these issues, we are not going to resolve the problem. So they are going to be major issues in the upcoming years. So this was something which was compared, that is reference case, an abatement case by Global Magazine Institute, and it shows that we should build more sustainable habitats, because energy consumption pattern in buildings is very high order. And as Rainer also mentioned, that 40% of energy is consumed by the buildings across the world globally, and about 21% is the GHG emissions because of the building energy consumption. So what are the measures which we can look for? This was again a study that top 5 measures which we can use to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, and out of this, surprisingly, 4 are related to the building. Only the 5th one is related to the energy efficiency of commercial vehicles. And looking at a very broader picture, that how environmentally sensitive design should further progress. So if we see that what happened in the conventional design, the energy consumption was very high, and at the same time it was degenerating the system, degenerating the environment. So it was having a very negative impact on the environment, and that's why you see that it is shown on this side as red. And then came up big awareness after the oil crisis, first oil crisis in 1970, late 1970s. They were OPEC country had said that the oil reserves are depleting and there is less oil, so people were alarmed. And in 1980s, there was a environmental concern. People had said that there is a hole in ozone layer and our greenhouse gas emission is causing that. And after that, Brundtland report came in 87, and it was a global way of United Nations effort to address what should be the sustainable development. So after that, it took a fleet, and then we have people coming up and various organizations globally coming up and looking at green or sustainable design. So we had some benchmarking like LEED rating, leadership in energy and environmental design, and which was first taken up at USGBC, the United States Green Building Council, and now we have more than 30 countries which go for green rating of the buildings. So greener design means for high performance, using better technology, efficient envelope system and all. So reducing the energy consumption, but at the same time, we are still, because we are reducing, we are having less energy consumption, but at the same time, we are still degenerating the environment. And then came up, this is a recent phenomena where we are talking about carbon neutral or zero energy housing or buildings, and C2C approach, that is cradle to cradle approach by McDonald. So 100% less bad. That means there will be zero energy consumption. There will be no negative impact on the environment. But our problem does not get resolved by this just addressing that we are using no energy for our construction or buildings, and we are not having any negative impact. The problem is that whatever degeneration we have done in last 1.5 centuries since Industrial Revolution, we have to restore. If we want to sustain, we have to restore, and that's why the future projection is that we should have restorative design which will restore the environment, not only energy consumption plus energy buildings, but it should also have restorative or human touch to the environment, that humans doing things to the nature. We are doing some positive things to the nature. So restore the damage and then regenerate. After we are done with the restoration, it is further required that we regenerate the environment, that is human participating as nature. So we become one with the nature, part of the ecological cycle, and we develop a living system approach for our development. And that is what we are looking at the future. So this is what, in terms of building this concepts can be interpreted, that energy efficient building, that is using less energy for heating, cooling, lighting, and without affecting the comfort of the occupant. We don't want to compromise on the comfort aspect. We save fuel, electricity consumption, and save money in the long run. Green building using less water, optimize energy efficiency, conserves natural resources, that is whatever flora, fauna, trees you have on the site, that is sustainable site planning, and generate less waste and provides healthier spaces, that is the quality of the air, and then it also saves the time and effort putting in the planning, and saves money in natural environment in the long run. Sustainable buildings do whatever all the energy efficient and green buildings were doing, but they are also generating their own energy, water and other resources like food and all. And we have seen example yesterday by Mr. Anand, that he says that there are buildings coming up in Bangalore where you can have food security, you are growing your own food. And then important thing is we are generating lot of waste, so we should be able to recycle, reuse those waste and conserve the environment. Restorative design is that think about the design in terms of using the activities of design and building to restore the capabilities of the local natural system. And that is how we develop the in harmony with the nature or the local system. So regenerative design will further engage the people as a holistic, that is we are part of the whole system, and this should be a very, very localized, place-based design approach. It can't be global because neither the climate nor the people are globally same. There is no internationalization on climate or the resources. So each place has its own resources, it has its own issues. So it should be a place-based design that is addressing the local issues and then engaging all the key stakeholders and process of the place, that is human, the biotic system, earth system, and the consciousness that connects and energizes them. So for training the users, there are various measures we can take, and they can be categorized into three. There is demonstration, using science, exhibition, having training programs, workshops and all. The second could be important is that is experience, the people experience the passive environment, the green strategy. They feel what is the difference of having a daylit environment and how natural ventilation can give them comfort, how rainwater can be harnessed for further use and all. So this is something where we live, we experience it, we use all these, and so we appreciate. Instead of just having the demonstration has a minimum effect. However, we put the stickers on the switchboards that please switch off lights and fan. People may or may not follow those instructions. But when you experience, and then there have been experiment that people were put in houses where you had the energy generated from the photovoltaic cell and it was off the grid. So they knew that this is the amount of energy I have and how optimally I utilize, and they knew that if we are frittering away the energy, then they will be at the loser end because whatever they have is limited. So experiencing is something very important. Then the third, which has been experimented and which people found that this works better in sensitizing the user, is their involvement. Make them part of the whole system of the building management as well as building design, and they become the active participant, and they observe the causal relationship that if I do this, if I waste water, then what happens? If I waste energy, then what happens? So their involvement is very important, and this is something which we have to look from the future users' point of view and to address the energy and environmental issues globally. And with this, we thought that since we are into academics, why not start with our own students who are learning architecture, who are designing buildings, and who will be future architects. And we also ask them to design something which is creating a learning environment. Not only design a sustainable building, but also design a building which involves the users in that. So we took a theme of Indian Green Building Council design competition, which was Sustainable Green School, and we wanted to down the students with thinking that how these buildings can be designed for sustainability and energy efficiency. So we took a site and at our university, that is Deenbandhu Choturam University, Murthal. We have a sprawling campus of 273 acres. So this was a team of students from our university and from Detmol University, and we gave them the same site, and it was a school of 3,900 square meter and a plot of 2.88 hectares. So this was something which was given as a brief to the students, that you have to imagine that the school is a building which has 4 walls, but it has future inside. It's not only a building with the 4 walls and roof, it has a future inside. That is, the people who are the students, the kids who are learning and growing up in that environment, they are the future. And how would we train them to address the green issues or making a green learning environment for them? So this, if we see that the way a child grows, he has physical and mental development in his schools, the language development happens, the intellectual development happens, the social development, that how do you interact with person to person, the emotional development, that making a team, and development of creative expression and aesthetic expression. So these are something which are happening in the walls of the 4 school. So this was the idea behind this project, that how architecture students will design a green learning environment. So it was not only exercise on designing a sustainable building, but making a building which will inspire the future of our generation for addressing the sustainable and green issues. So we just took up this site in the composite climatic zone, that is where our campus is, because in India we have 5 climatic zones. The latitudinal extent of India is from 8 degree to 36 in the north. So it's a vast country, and we have different climatic zones. If we see in the western part of India, this is hot dry climatic zone, and then on the coastal peninsular area, it is the warm humid climatic zone, and temperate climate zones are very limited, that is Bangalore and some cities, and cold climate is only towards the northern part, that is Leh and Himalayan region and some part of the northeast states. Major part of India is falling into composite zone. Composite zone means that it has the characteristic of all these 4 climatic zones seasonally. They vary seasonally, but in these climatic zones, the predominant characteristic is hot dry, but in composite we have a variation, seasonal variation. So this was the site where the school was to be proposed, which has a composite climate. That means we have extreme summer climate and we have extreme winter climate. So this could be addressed by both the students, that is European student as well as Indian student. So this is the site on our campus. This is our campus. These are the students' accommodation, that is for the boys, and these are the female students' accommodation. So we chose this site. This is another female accommodation. This is also another female accommodation, and this area is where all our sports activity, and this is the sports zone of the university. So we chose this particular site for development of this school. So it has all the residential, the students' accommodation around it, and the sporting facility. So this site was given to both the students. The interesting part of the project was that the Indian students had seen the site. They were living on the site because they live on campus. But the students from Germany, they had never seen this site. They have never experienced this site. So it was something very imaginary for them. So whatever queries they used to have, that why we are using this kind of material, why the campus is like this, or what are the attributes of the campus. So we used to send it by email to them, and I used to click the pictures around the site and send it to them. So with their whatever inputs I could give them regarding the climate and the site and the Indian psychology and the perspective. So with that inputs only they have designed. So I used to get a set of questionnaire, and then I used to mail them that, see, this is how the climate of the place is, that during the 4 months you have extreme hot, this band is the comfort zone, and you can see the ambient temperature, the maximum and minimum, they go above this comfort band, and in the winters you can see that it's a place near Delhi, so it goes below the comfort band. So this is how we were interacting and providing the information to them.